Oh, guys, good, you hear? I am so excited. Guess what? I hope this isn't about your podcast again. Why, did you finally listen to it?
Da-da-da-da, 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 the Gloomy Next Door production. You're listening to BYOTP Radio. Coming up next, the Gloomy Next Door.
And now our feature presentation.
Welcome to the Gloomy Next Door.
It's Thanksgiving Day and we're gathered round. Little children make a joyful sound. And there's no school and we get to play. And we're all thankful for this day. Except for the turkey. La 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 la. Except for the turkey.
You're listening to my mommy and daddy.
Gobble, 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 gobble.
Hello, pups and kittens, and welcome to another edition of the Groomer Next Door podcast. I'm your host, Chris Green, and joining us in just a moment is Lori Davidson. Lori has a company called Perennials, and we're going to tackle the very difficult conversation about loss of a pet. We hear it almost on a weekly basis from our guests who tell us really sad stories, how they lost their pet, and where they started and how they became the amazing people that they are today. And most of the time, those people have lost their pet way too early. I know I have lost pets over the years, and it is never easy. It is the hardest moment in all of being a pet parent. And every time I get that phone call at the shop that says, I'm sorry, I won't be able to make it in for my appointment today. My dog or cat has passed away. It is just the hardest conversation to have. And I always hate to send flowers because, well, sadly enough, they die in a very short amount of time and the sentiment goes away. I understand it's a Band-Aid type thing. But when Lori contacted us about Perennials, we had a conversation about it, and I thought to myself, wow, this is great. Something that will be long-lasting, and I can get behind like I would flowers, because every time I hear of a friend's pet passing, or even when ours pass, there has to be that grieving moment. Well, that's where this conversation will take place. But before that, let's go into the facts of the week. The Rainbow Bridge, of course, is a poem synonymous with the passing of pets. So that seemed to be the perfect fact of the week. The Rainbow Bridge, not the one in the poem, but the one that's on the edge of Lake Powell in Utah, is the largest natural bridge in the world at 290 feet tall and 270 feet across. The Rainbow Bridge is considered sacred by the Navajo culture as a symbol of the deities responsible for creating clouds, rainbows, and rain, the essence of life in the desert. Now, I knew that probably a lot of us didn't know anything about this natural bridge, and I thought it was just perfect when it came to this conversation. Well, by that sound, Lori is about to make her way into the actual studio. So, with that said, Lori Davidson with Perennials.
Oh, hello. Hold on a sec. Dad, we have a guest on the podcast.
This week on the podcast, Lori Davidson with Perennials is joining us to have a very in-depth discussion about something that none of us want to ever be faced with, and a conversation that a lot of people like to avoid. But Lori is so amazing to have come on the podcast to tell us about her great products and to have this discussion. So thank you for being on the podcast.
Oh, I appreciate it, Chris. I'm looking forward to talking with you.
And you know what? I'm enjoying this conversation because nobody wants to have it. And that's the first thing. Remember when we started talking about this the other day, it was like, you know what? Nobody wants to have this conversation, but it's the inevitable. And it's the unfortunate inevitable for all pet parents and people like me who see a lot of great dogs and cats coming through, and the unfortunate demise that takes all of us, which is the end of life. So tell us your origin story and how all of this began.
Well, my business partner, Ramey Babo, and I had both experienced pet loss. We're both huge pet lovers. And I was working with Ramey on another business that she was selling, and we started to talk about what we wanted to do and decided that we wanted to start a business together. And of course, our first love is pets, so that began it. And the more we started to talk about it, the more we realized that loss was something that we needed to find a way to celebrate a pet's life or a person's life and help someone heal. So we established Cherished Ones. It is our parent company, and we did that in 2014, but quickly decided to focus on the pet side, which is our Pet Perennials products. And we wanted to have products that were eco-friendly and that would be affordable for most people, because there's a lot of great memorial products on the market that people would choose to buy for themselves. Either, the glass that has the infusion of the pet's cremation remains, or a piece of jewelry, but they can also be expensive. So we wanted to make certain that whatever we brought out, people would be able to even gift, and let others know they're not alone in their loss. So that was the original start. And we had come out with our custom products, which we were doing on our own. Somebody would place an order, and we would send out a collection bag and get a small portion of the pet's cremation remains. And our first product was called Pet Perennials, and we created planting wafers for folks that had part of the pet's cremation remains in them, and they could start a perennial garden. But we quickly realized that activity itself of making new wafers was the healing part of the activity. So thus began the changes in our focus and how we're approaching our business today.
And see, again, everybody is always so afraid of talking about it or even thinking about it. But, again, let's go into this whole podcast and we talk about, nutrition, and we talk about how 90% of dogs and cats suffer from cancer and renal failure and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then we, as compassionate others, we hear about our friends or our customers or our neighbors losing their little furry loved one, and you just feel like, oh man, what do I do? And then you call up the flower shop, and it really is just kind of blah. That's what I loved about what you did. You came up with this, and it's actually cheaper than just
Definitely.
flowers. I mean, flowers are great, and a lot of people appreciate it, but your product is well thought out. It's cost efficient by a lot. That's the first, and I'm like, wow, you guys really do a great job on that. And it's personal. And you guys have your bereavement bundle. You have
Yes.
great products. So with all of your products, they all have a bereavement bundle. So how did the actual bereavement bundle idea start, and what is fully involved with that product or accessory?
Well, we actually have a make-it-yourself pet perennial kit. That's where we took our custom product that we were doing and turned it into a make-it-yourself healing activity for families that have lost a pet. A lot of times, children's first experience with death is actually the loss of a pet. And you think you have difficulty talking to friends and not knowing what to say or coping with it yourself. I mean, this is a sibling to these children. It's a furry little sibling, but it's, they've grown up together. It's their loyal companion, their constant playmate. And so when the pet dies, the parents need some way to explain to the children what's happened. And regardless of your spiritual beliefs, the kits allow you to create seed wafers that you can start a memorial garden, or you can drop them onto a pot or into window boxes, or take them to the dog park. And what it does is everything's involved in this kit that can create 12 to 14 seed wafers, the perennial seed wafers, in the shape of hearts and paws. And all of the perennials are pet safe plants. They support the ecosystem. They attract honey bees, butterflies, hummingbirds, and so it's an activity that takes the death and creates from one thing growth and new life. So it really is a medium to talk to the family about it. Now, the bereavement bundle with that would be, say you're the grandparent or a family friend and you want to help the family through this, you could send them a Pet Perennials kit. But we have specific cards inside the card. It says, find the seed at the bottom of your heart and bring forth a flower. And if you order on our website, we will handwrite the message that you want onto the card and send it to the recipient on your behalf. So it becomes, the bundle becomes a personalized way to send our gifts. We also have our Healing Hearts candle, which we just came out with in June, and that's a soy candle. It's got cotton wick, and it's a lavender and chamomile scent, so it's very soothing. And at the time of the pour, we have 10 different heart-shaped stones that are beautiful, turquoise, moonstone, different ones, jade, and they're randomly embedded in the candle at the time of the pour. So if you were to send someone one of these candles, and again, with a personalized note, or you get one for yourself, you'll get a card with that, with all of the different stones that might be in your candle. And as your candle burns cleanly away, it's going to reveal the stone. And at that time, you can compare it to the stones on the card, discover which one you have, and then it tells you not only the healing properties of the stone, but each stone is attached to an individual, special, unique message from across the rainbow bridge from your pet. So it's, the whole goal is, our mission is to heal hearts and our land one product at a time. So we're very careful in our selection of what we use to create our products and what our products are, because it truly is meant to be a healing activity. Pet loss is hard. They're family.
It really is. It's the hardest thing besides an actual human loss.
Yes.
And it has the same feel. You completely cannot believe that you're no longer going to see that cat, that dog. And you're just kind of like, oh my gosh, we've had so many different clients come through our grooming shop, and we'll find out either that morning or a few days before that the dog had passed, and it just sets you back. You don't know what to say, you don't know what to do. All you know is you feel that loss, and it's the worst feeling. So, I looked at the actual candle, and I thought that was just gorgeous.
Oh, thank you.
It's just so perfect in so many different ways. And again, when I was looking at everything, I thought to myself, boy, flowers, they come and go. Most of the time, if you're lucky to get fresh flowers that last a week, that's a miracle. And then,
Yeah.
it's almost like the sentiment kind of almost disintegrates in a sense. And that's one of the reasons why I've never been a flower person. But of course, I'm a guy. And I understand a lot of people love flowers, but with what you have, it's long lasting. The kits if you're doing them with the kids, it brings in life to what was life. And it, in a sense, it just keeps that life going around it. And I love that because it keeps the message, in a sense, always there. So if it's in your garden, it's always there. And,
Yes.
and, when you guys thought about the idea of, well, kids, they are stuck with this loss. How do they actually go from point A to point B in the grieving? And, being able to have that interaction, that conversation that's going to be had while they're making everything is the dialogue right there. That's just perfect. That you did a great job on that.
Well, thank you. And one of the things is I know a lot of people choose to, maybe spread the ashes and, maybe in a field where the pet played, or at a dog park, or along a creek or a path. And this allows you could actually take a small portion of the pet's cremation remains if they chose to do it while you're making the seed wafers. And the thing with it is it's sort of like baking cookies. It's a very simple activity. You take the matrix it's a nutrient-rich soil matrix that feeds and protects the seeds, but you roll it out, the little rollers in there, and then you can sprinkle the seeds, and if you choose, you could sprinkle some of the ash on at that time, and then you fold it back together and roll it back out just like you were making cookies and mixing in something. And then you just take the little cutters, it's like I said, a little harder a paw shape, and you make your wafers and you set them aside and you let them dry for a day. And the reason you do that is because then they won't fall apart. They're easy to handle. And then you just take them, you can set them on top of the soil, in a pot or in your window boxes. You give them a little water, let them have sunshine and of course love. And within 2 weeks, you'll see germination.
And see, it's just all right there, and it brings that memory back. It's never a loss. Yeah, one thing that's
No.
always driven me nuts is people that, their furry loved ones go on and they just don't think anything of it. And I'm always baffled by that. Like, how is it you can be okay with it? Well, it's a dog. No.
Yeah, and that's a fast way to lose a friend. Tell somebody they lost. It was just a dog.
I've actually
But,
heard it,
but
sadly
yeah,
enough.
well, and that said, one of the things that you mentioned, because in your shop you said, you've cared for and pampered these pets for
Yeah.
years. And so it's a loss for you too.
Oh yeah.
And so one of the things that we did was we created a bereavement package service for businesses such as yours or for anyone that touches people. The elder community, I have assisted living facilities that, they allow pets that are also doing this. But what happens is you sign on. There's no fee to the business to go on our website and sign up for this. We just keep the credit card on file and your information, your specific message that you would like included in your card. So now, a family comes or calls and breaks an appointment because Rover has passed away. You simply email us the family's name and their address and that it's a dog or a cat or, and the name's Rover. And then do you want the candle or do you want the kit sent? And then we take care of the rest. It's convenient. It's creative. It's compassionate. It's delivered so unexpectedly to the client. We actually get calls from groomers clients that have received this package onto our 855 number that just say, we just wanted to thank you for what you do. That we got this in the mail and it was so totally unexpected because, as you said, it's not a bouquet of flowers.
Yeah.
It's something very pet centric. There's thought behind it and it's healing. And they, I had one woman tell me that she's got it on a quick link on her laptop now, and that anytime a friend or family member loses a pet, she's going to send them a candle because she said there's nothing out there. And that's what was hard for us to believe. There really is nothing out there. Like you said, you think 1-800-Flowers if someone loses a human family member. Well, we want people to think 1-800-PET Perennials, not that we're a 1-800 number, but think, whether it's our pet perennial product or something else, acknowledge it. Don't let it be a disenfranchised grief. This is really, really hard for people. Think of the elderly. Their family may live away. This is their constant companion. It keeps them, company in the house, and now they're alone. And you need to reach out to people and let them know their loss is real and it's okay to feel it.
And when you touch on that, there's so many different things to go on. I mean, when you look at it from the elderly standpoint, there's a purpose. That dog or cat serves at such a purpose for them because they have to get up and they have to feed them and they have to change a litter box if it's a cat, take it for a walk, and then that constant petting and that emotional connection, the one-on-one, it is so important. And when that dog goes, that whole purpose goes. And I've been in a spot where I've seen our clients, I don't want another dog, I don't want another cat, and then you're always worried about their health. Will it diminish because that was a caring love in their life. I mean, you think about it, that's keeping them going. A lot of people, maybe their
Well,
husbands or wives passed.
yeah. And you think about that saying that, from the pet, the message from beyond to say to somebody, you know, you gave me love every day.
Yeah.
Give me the gift of giving it to somebody else in need. Go rescue another animal.
Oh yeah.
Continue that love. And for me, I live alone. And my kids live on opposite sides of the country, one in Charlotte and one in San Diego. So, not that you don't have family within a half an hour or so or nearby, but you wake up in the morning and without the pitter patter of those little cats, that, it would be a lonely existence at times. And I'm pretty comfortable living alone, but they give me a lot of companionship.
And what's great is that with the actual candle, at least if you're, I can look at even groomers and vets who have carpal tunnel making different things. It could be a little bit harder on their hands. So the candle works out great for your artistic or their kids. The whole idea of being able to make something work. So you've covered all of your bases. And it is weird that there isn't a lot of product out there. Because again, they don't want to have this conversation. They don't want to sell this product because nobody really wants to ever have this conversation or even address it. And that is shocking.
It has been a real challenge, out of the box to have the conversation with people, because if you go to, how you'll go to a show and it's a consumer show and they'll come up, oh, what's this? When we first came out with the Make It Yourself Pet Perennial Kits, and it was like, oh, death. I don't want to think about my pet passing. And that's sort of how we have evolved into, think of it as a sympathy or a celebration of life gift
Mm-hmm.
that you're giving somebody else to acknowledge how much that pet meant to them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's changed the whole conversation, and people order them for themselves now, especially the candle. The perennial flowers will grow anywhere in North America. It's an absolutely beautiful product. It's wonderful. But a lot of people, the candle's not male, female. It's not young. It's not old. Everybody loves a candle. And so therefore it is the perfect choice if you're uncertain about the kit to give anyone.
And see, that's what I like about it. Because again, I thought the candle was out of all of it. I thought that was the best, and and I like being creative, but I thought the candle was just amazing. And then to get to the bottom of that, to find out what stone it is and what the message is, it was almost, in my mind, I thought to myself, it's like the box of cereal getting the prize at the bottom.
Yes.
And that was my mindset. Of course, 36, and I'm still thinking about toys in a cereal box. But it's true. I mean, and then you get to see that message and that whole thing, it just brings back everything. You can put stone in a plant, or you can put it right next to, your chair, wherever you want. And it keeps the message and the memory alive. And
We had a teenage boy that the mom had gotten a candle, and she was starting to light it, and he was so torn apart by having lost his pet that he said, can I take that candle and put it in my bedroom? So he lit it every night. He actually wanted to do a video for us, which we did a little clip. You can find it on our YouTube and our website. But he now carries that heart around in his wallet.
oh wow.
So, you're surprised at how much this touches everybody. But the perennials are a bit of a surprise too. That's like the Cracker Jack box, because you're never sure which wildflowers are going to show up.
True.
And once we started the bereavement package service, and we had a lot of groomers thinking, well, I'll send one of the Make It Yourself Pet Perennial Kits. They have a family, but thinking that the candle might be the appropriate gift. The feedback they get from them now, that's their first choice to send. So it's a surprise, yet I tend to lean like you do. I love the candle, but I know a lot of people that love the kits. I mean, I love them both, but then I have gardens full of our inspiration. We actually used a touch of my business partner's dog, Olive, whom she lost. We just had that discussion on a bad toy or something that, she ended up with kidney failure at a young age and on a recall. But so we use a small portion of her ashes. We call Olive our inspiration officer for the company. And so I have what looks like English gardens alongside my cottage that are just beautiful wildflowers. You never know what's going to come up. And I think of Olive every time I do it.
Oh my gosh. That's beautiful though. And see again, it's so simple, and yet nobody's willing to do it. And so that's why, when we started talking, it was an amazing, to kind of give a little bit of a backstory to it. You had posted on the podcast Facebook page, and
Yeah.
right away I saw that, and it was like, well, we need to talk, because this is amazing. You're having a discussion about something that is inevitable. And I love the
Yes.
fact that you were willing to have that discussion. But you didn't just stop at having a discussion. You made a great product, and then now you're working with 123 software, pet
Software, yeah.
software, yeah, pet software, and that's a huge increase, because they are a great product. They have a great software line, and I wanted you to explain it, because you explain it so much better than I will. But how easy it is for any user of that software to be able to just click on and be able to send one of their clients a bereavement package.
Well, what we're working on with 123 Software is an integration program. So if one of the listeners currently is using 123 Software, they can go to our website, and it's under our service package, and they can sign up for our bereavement package service. And then and you have to do that anyway. You have to come on and sign up through us. But what is happening is they are working on integrating our service into their software, so that when you go in and you're updating your client information when you learn that someone's dog has died, so you go in and you click that. If you're a member of our bereavement package service, it will automatically, from your software, send that information to Pet Perennials, and whatever you have on file, your message, anything, we will just simply do the handwritten note. It'll be a kit or a candle, and it will be sent directly to your client's door. Shipping and handling, handwritten note, personalized, for less than $20. And the benefit to you as the groomer is it makes you feel good that you've helped a family through a really difficult time, and the family feels like, holy cow, you really do care. Because you do. I mean, like I said, and I'll say it again, you guys, pamper and love these pets like they're your own. So it's a loss for you too.
Oh my gosh, it is the worst. I mean, I've told the story before, but for anybody who hadn't heard it, we had this one dog come through from a puppy, and love this dog. Service dog, goes to the hospital, goes to senior homes, just an absolute wonderful, wonderful dog. And come to find out that it was unfortunately hit by a car, and which drew up another huge red flag that I've been kind of having an issue with, of people who will do hit and run, and there's no law that actually prevents that. It's just it's a piece of property you hit, but there's no real repercussions. And man,
Or they don't stop.
they don't
They don't
stop.
stop to see if the pet's okay.
No,
Can we get it off the road? Can we
nope.
help?
Yeah, and ultimately the dog was not killed on impact, which was the hard part. And when we heard the story about it was just, to this day, I mean, it's been about a year now, and it doesn't matter if it's a year or yesterday, it's the same feeling inside. And, of course, you send the pet parent flowers, but you don't feel like you really told them how much you felt and how bad you felt about the loss of their dog, and how much their dog actually gave to you. And that's the big thing in our spot. Every dog that comes in, it's like a child. And we
Yes.
treat them just like a 3-year-old child. And I can't understand why people aren't having the same reaction to pets as they are kids. It's somebody's kid.
Yes, it is.
How many times have you, and I'm sure you hear this all the time, where you hear, I can't have children, but my dog or cat is my child. And if something happens to it, it's the same feeling, the same loss as if it was a child, like a human child. Same thing.
Because they've put all those parental feelings and
Yeah.
nurturing feelings into this pet,
Yeah.
and they truly love that pet.
And yet, this is something that is just beautiful. It's a beautiful thing that you're doing. And that's another reason why I was just like, no, we're definitely sitting down to record this, because you're sending out such a beautiful message. You're not overcharging, which is another thing. Looking into it, you're not price gouging. You're
Right.
actually under what and I'm sorry to say, but meaningless flowers will do. I mean, you've got products that actually make life, bring life
Yes.
to, and it's,
Or celebrate life.
yeah, celebrate life, and the memories that every time they see either the wildflowers, they look at the stone that the candle had produced, or the little things that were made that are in your garden. All of these things are just, they're beautiful and ready for people
Thank
to
you.
remember. I love that you're doing it.
Well, it was a real need, and one of the ways to realize how much of a need it was is we're very fortunate we received our U.S. Utility patent on the process for the Make It Yourself Pet Perennial Kits this summer, which we are so excited about. But that's how unique the process is, and how unique it is to have sympathy gifts, or and I hate to use the word sympathy. I mean, I like to think of the fact that we're celebrating a pet's life. So, but again, you think of sending a sympathy card, you really are acknowledging someone's loss. You're letting them know you care. But to find something out there that's appropriate or fitting, or really speaks to them, is difficult. And that's why it's important for us to bring these products to market, and to reach as many people, to let them know that we exist. Nobody knows, you're there when you're brand new and you're, entering into a whole new area with a different approach. Like you said, it's a difficult topic to talk about.
And it is a hard market to be in. And again, I hate the word market when it comes to anything like this, but anything pet related is such a hard little thing to get into, because it's such a large business, yet it's, a lot of the business is the same thing. It's a repetitive business at the same time, where everybody's doing one thing. You have that unique, rare item that nobody is doing. And so it is hard. And that's where my next question is what's next for Pet Perennials?
Well, we have next in the works right now, and definitely we'll circle back around with you on that. We're in the process of bringing out. We try and take something that exists and recreate its purpose. So I'll leave it with a little teaser that way. And and we also have our Bloom Essence line, which is the human side, which we will be bringing products that are similar to the ones for the pet industry out for the aftercare um, vertical. So you would look for something like a Healing Hearts candle for the other side, or the not the Make It Yourself Pet Perennial kits, but possibly being able to do that for like I lost my father. I mean, all of that was covered under our U.S. utility patent, thankfully. So we will be bringing that to fruition soon.
Well, that's a good thing. I mean, it's, again, there's so many different layers to it. Whether it is pet or human, there's so many layers to it. And Unfortunately, that's the inevitable side of it. And, you may find out that, again, a family member died, and you may be so in love with pet perennials that you have to have that extra layer. And so I completely understand that. And that's, it's again, it's such a hard topic. So it's like, but inevitable at the same time. Now,
And we're not limited when we talk about our bereavement package service. We're not limited. Of course, our focus today is on the grooming side, but we have insurance agents that
yeah,
signed on for the bereavement package service because they'll talk to a client and say, they're devastated. They've lost a family member, or we have a cleaning service that works with us. We have doggy daycare, of course,
yeah,
the Camp Bow Wows and such. If you're a pet retail store, you have certain clients that, you've had for years, and you want to be able to acknowledge that. I mean, we all live in small communities, whether we're in a big city or not. You're in neighborhoods. You're used to seeing your clients, and it's, the reach is important because you want to acknowledge this. Again, like I said, it's way too often a disenfranchised grief, and the fastest way to lose a friend is as we spoke earlier, to say, "Oh, it's just a dog, or it's just a cat." No, it's not. It's my baby.
and see, I always think of it that way. And of course, there are people that just think dogs are dogs, and a that's a conversation that's absolutely never going to go anywhere, because they're going to believe that, and you
Sure,
can't change that.
sure.
But whenever I talk to veterinarians, or I have any kind of dealings with any kind of daycares, other groomers, the consistency is that the ones that I ever have that kind of connection with is, we all care about the actual dogs and cats that come through. And if I find somebody who doesn't, it's an immediate, okay, I have nothing to say to you. If it's all about the money and not about the actual
Yes,
person itself, or dog or cat, then I have no reasons to talk to you. There's no conversation to be had, because all you're looking at is the money, and
yes.
you're going to lose so much. And, you know, I'll even take it down. And I said this to you before we even recorded, and that was, I can look at it from multiple angles. I can look at it from the business side. It's good business to give, two damns about everything. And so I can see a company being like, well, you know what? It's good business for us to do it. And that's fine.
Oh, sure,
That's fine.
sure. But that should, we would hope that would not be their sole or driving factor in doing it.
Oh, I would totally hope it's not. I can see it. And I'm sure you
Oh,
can do.
sure.
But for
Yeah.
the most
And
part,
we have.
and it will happen again and again. But for the most part, I think people really need it. That's one thing that I can see where your product's needed, because it gives that closure, that feeling of moment that you can say, okay, I've given my compassion in a way, and I've given my sympathy in some way, and made myself feel a little bit better by saying, hey, I'm going to miss your dog or cat by sending you one of these packages, because it is, again, you can send flowers and that's great and everything, but it is kind of that gray option where this one actually does bring life back and brings memory out. And I just don't, I can't see it from the perspective of money and why people would only do it business wise. But of course, and I do, people will do it just because it sounds good.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And you know
But
what? I didn't even cover it. You have another option, which is also amazing, because a lot of people don't know which direction to go. And that is, you have the gift certificate, which is a
yes,
perfect
we
option.
do. Yes.
That, to
So
me,
somebody can come on and choose whichever they would like.
yeah. And I like
Yes.
that, because, maybe you don't know. Maybe you're like, hey, you know what? I'm not really even sure what this person would like. And it could be, again, another groomer might be saying, hey, I don't really know. Maybe they would like to actually have this package. Maybe they would. So you're given the option of, you know what? I'm so sorry that Rover passed. We are going to miss him or her. and we want to give this to you as a token of our sympathy. And it speaks volumes, and that's
Sure does.
amazing. And the fact that you covered that is also pretty amazing as well.
Well,
So,
thank you. And like I said, it cost effectiveness, eco-friendly. It has a healing purpose. These things have to be in the center of every discussion my business partner and I have when we're talking about what's next.
and that's amazing. The fact that you're conscientious, that's a huge thing, because not a lot of people are conscientious of all of it. You're worried about the actual earth, you're worried about the actual person, and you're worried about the person who is actually sending the bereavement package. So you're
Yeah.
covering it all. Now here's a question that I always ask small businesses, because it has actually come back and somebody's like, no, I haven't thought of it. And then they turned out they were on it. And of course I called them out on it, later on the podcast on an update. But Shark Tank. I love Shark Tank, and I love small businesses that go in Shark Tank. Has it ever been an idea, or have they approached you, or have you approached them?
Well, Shark Tank itself hasn't approached us. There was an original shark, I think Kevin Harrington, I'm trying to remember his name, that approached us, but we were very, very new in the beginning to work with him. And we were still putting all the back end together. That was when we, had the custom product, and we really spent those first few months just getting everything set up for process and everything so that growth could take place. Shark Tank is definitely one of my all-time favorite shows to watch. I mean, being an entrepreneur, of course, you really enjoy that. But we go back and forth. We're hoping by the time that they actually approach us, we don't need them to approach us. On the other hand, I mean, what great publicity that would be.
Mm-hmm.
But again, we were approached, but not by the show, by one of the original ones that no longer is with the show, and we just weren't at a point at that stage that we were ready to move with something like that.
I always say I need to have one of the actual production people on, kind of like a call list, because we get this kind of small business that deserves to actually go on Shark Tank, and for some reason I don't have any of their actual people, and I think it's kind of weird. I need to get that now that I'm going to actually write that down, and because you would be perfect on Shark Tank. I can just see the product and I can see them fighting for it because it makes sense, and nobody's doing
Well,
it.
that's correct. And as we, the candles have really spurred growth. We have them on shelf, but we're really having to work at staying ahead of the game. I mean, they've been very, very well received to keep them in stock. And so that's exciting. So in 6 months from now, maybe we will be having this conversation again, and you will have spurred it on.
Well, you know what the conversation might be, because again, it was Apollo Peak Pet Beverage that was on before, and he says, well, they approached us, but I couldn't tell you, and then, well, it happened. So I thought it was funny. So yes, I will definitely expect an update. Now, what haven't we covered that we should be covering that I have not covered yet?
Well, I think that it's important for any of the groomers listening to understand that if they go on and they sign up for the bereavement package service so that they can send them to their clients, there's no cost for membership in it. It's not like it's a subscription fee. You just go on and sign up. We just keep, a credit card on file and your message on file and your contact info, and give you the information you need so that you can email us when the time comes. You don't have to do it for every client. You could choose which ones, that you felt the most touched by. You might find that, it is very cost effective to be able to ship something with a personalized note that's that personal for, as I said, under $20. But the thing that's important is that people know we're out there. So if someone's listening and they've got a friend even to try it that way, or they know somebody that's lost, just let them know we exist, because it's a hard topic. It's hard to go through alone, and people, especially when they've lost a pet, oftentimes uh, feel very alone, or maybe sometimes even embarrassed by their grief, because there's so many different grief sites, as you probably know, on Facebook. We just attached one to our Pet Perennial site because they need to talk about it. There needs to be a forum where some people can go in with people that are also going through it, and they don't feel so isolated or crazy for being so grief stricken. And I think that's what's important.
It is very important because a lot of people do associate grief with weakness, which luckily has become almost non-existent, but it's still there. And it's not a weakness. We should be showing compassion. Being upset that your dog or cat died is not a bad thing. I can speak for my own self. I remember when our rabbits died. That was the worst moment for me. I felt the worst, and it was just like a child would have died. And it was a rabbit. And that's what people said. It's a rabbit. What's the big deal? Because the rabbit meant a lot to me. I loved my rabbit. And the
Yeah,
same thing goes with, we've had fosters that, when we got them, they were not healthy, and they unfortunately passed. That's kind of the hard part about rescuing and fostering, is sometimes they don't make it. That's hard. It's a hard moment. So to be able to have something to soften the blow definitely helps. And it's,
exactly. I think we mentioned in the beginning that I had somebody had blessed me with this little 4-week-old kitten they found on a back
yeah,
road this summer in August, and I'd had her for a week or so. She was just, you know, had she was a mess, and I'm putting a dropper in her mouth with antibiotics and such. And one night, she couldn't have been more than 6 weeks old. At 2 o'clock in the morning, she lost control of her bladder and lost control of her back legs, and she was crying. And I looked at her; you could tell she was dehydrated. And I called my vet. Thank God I have such a wonderful vet. And she said, "Well, to be honest, in this situation, the kitten probably isn't going to make it till morning, and if you bring her in, she probably isn't going to make it till morning anyway." And I said, "Well, I can't sit here and watch this happen. We got to do something." So I didn't think I'd make it the half-hour drive to the vets. We get to the vet, and I handed it to her. She calls me the next morning, and she goes, "You're not going to believe this. She's walking around the crate. She had IV, antibiotic, IV, fluids." And we left her there for about 5 days, and I brought her home. She's here now, sleeping. She's just a little peanut. She's not real big, but she's a spitball. Anyways, the point being, how do you look in their eyes and not see a being? I mean,
yeah.
I'd had her for 2 weeks old, and I thought, my heart hurt. My older cat sitting here looking at this, shaking, like, you got to do something. I mean, I'm a true animal lover, obviously, as we talked. That's what we're doing in this business. But
And
it's through the loss of our own pets for my business partner and I. I talked about my 16-year-old Bichons that I raised with my girls passing. My kids tell me my older male cat is the son I never had. I mean, they're family,
they
and
are.
and that is so important, and that is at the core belief for pet perennials, that pets are family.
And it's funny because you bring up a great topic of having a good communication with a veterinarian, and of course, as you know, it's such a key to everything that I talk about. There are good veterinarians out there, and people need to understand that if you don't have that communication, that open dialogue, that you have trust in them, then you're with the wrong veterinarian. Change
Yeah,
your vet. And it's as simple as that. I mean, you've seen it as much as I do, where they're griping and complaining that there's just no communication and there's no trust. Well, there's a simple way. You're proof here in the fact that you're like, I have trust in my veterinarian. Well, there you go. And, that's why I keep having that same conversation of, there's good veterinarians out there, and then there are some that are just in it for the money, and that's not.
exactly. She's is not. She met me at the door. The lights were all on in the clinic. It was no inconvenience, be it 3 o'clock in the morning by the time we got there. I mean, never once did I feel anything except that she felt the same compassion for this kitten that I did.
And see, you were on the verge of being your own customer, which is scary. And so you ended up,
Exactly.
and you ended up seeing it from another perspective of, so this is what my customers are going through. And that's life changing, because now you have that feeling. Now you've got that same pulse, and it makes it so real. And
Well, I told you I had the 2 Bichons for 16 years, and they passed within a couple months of each other. And when the male dog Arnold passed away, and I came back from the vets, I think that was probably for me why, when my business partner and I started talking and we went, yeah, this is what we want to do. I can remember getting out of the car and sitting down on my porch and crying from a place inside me. I mean, this was one of the kids. They'd been raised with the kids, and now he was gone.
Mhm.
So my kitten was a reminder of how that felt, and the reason we do what we do.
And it's so hard because we don't have a long time with our dogs and cats.
Never
There's
long enough.
never
No.
long enough. But you think about a dog's life, you think about a cat's life, and with proper nutrition, you might be able to get 20 years. But they're just not
Yes.
made to last. That's the hard part. That's the serious hard part. So at some point, this is going to become a conversation that someone's going to have today, tomorrow, when this releases. Throughout time, people are going to have this conversation of, oh my gosh, did you hear so-and-so's pup passed, or my pup or cat passed? And what do you do for that? How do what are you going to do? Well, you know what? I went to this really cool website called Pet Perennials, and I was able to actually send a really unique gift that said, I care and I feel bad for your loss, and I'm thinking of you. And
Right.
it's like you can go Google anything bereavement for pets, and it's just not there. I'm sure flower companies are great at
Or it can be cost prohibitive.
oh boy,
and
right?
personalized. I mean, you get the urns and
Yeah.
memorial jewelry and stuff that the pet parent will purchase for himself, but not a sympathy type of acknowledgement that is affordable and really has meaning. Those are, we're unique.
Yeah, but a good unique. I always say that there's 2 uniques out there. That's the person that's completely crazy looking, and they say that they're unique, but they're really not. And then there's
Yes.
you, who's actually really unique and doing
Oh,
something
thank you.
that, oh, thank you for doing it. I mean, seriously, and thank you for reaching out to me, because that was the first. I was like, you came up, you posted it on the wall, and I saw it right away. I thought it was a great idea. I started looking into it, and I think we talked almost immediately afterwards,
Yeah.
I was like, hey, you know what? I'm glad you reached out, because again, how are we to have these conversations if we're silent about it or mute? So it's great that you're doing it, and it's definitely providing a great service for a lot of people. So that brings up the next
Thank you.
question of, how can somebody order?
Well, you can go to our petperennials.com site, and we have an online shop, and you can order there. If you're a groomer, you can sign up for our bereavement package service on our website. Everything, if you want a wholesale account, you want, to go on and order product that way, you can sign up for a wholesale account there. So everything can be done at petperennials.com. For those of us this time of year that think, oh my gosh, does anybody shop any place but Amazon.com? Yes, we're on Amazon also, and fulfilled by Amazon. So you can be real comfortable when you go on and you use your Prime account, which a lot of us love,
Mm-hmm.
that you can go on and get our product there. The difference between the 2 sites is you can order the bundle on Amazon, and they can, you can then pay to have a gift card sent with it, where they'll just send, like they do with any other gift, the note that goes in with the product. But the card won't be personalized and handwritten. If you're on our petperennials.com site, it will be. You can leave your message, and you can rest assured that, no one is typing it out. We are very careful to make sure that that message goes out and is handwritten and personalized and is sent to whomever you want to get it.
Smart to go to Amazon. I mean, that was smart of you, but I still personally think going to the website is the best bet. But, I'm just
Yeah,
going to
well,
say it
that's
that way.
what we like. That's what we like.
But you were smart.
We prefer that. Yeah. But you want it to be available to as many people as possible. Now, there are groomers that carry it, that say somebody comes into your shop and it's there. They carry it and they're coming in. They haven't lost a pet, but it's the same as we're trying to explain to retailers who think, well, we only see people that have healthy pets. Well, we understand that, but don't we all know somebody that just lost a pet or lost a pet recently, or we're going to know somebody soon that unfortunately, is going to have to go through this? When they come in and they see that, they'll say to you, Chris, they'll see it in your cabinet and they'll go, oh, what is that? And you can explain to them, and, you're providing yet another service to them by being able to sell it directly to them and not just use the bereavement package service. And anyone that, is interested in stocking it, we do make it very convenient again to get. We sell them in as little as 6 units, either the candles or the kits, 12 or 24. So you don't have to stock a lot of product to see the response.
And I've already sent this out to somebody that I was telling you about before, when we were talking before we actually recorded. I
Right.
actually did talk to them, and they liked the product, and not sure, because she's really busy, but she's like, I really love the product. Thank you for sending me the link. So I have already been, talking about you, and, I will continue to definitely, mention you, because you're doing the right thing, and you're making it so easy for people. And it's easy because nobody knows what to do. And that's the hard
Yeah.
part. What do you say? What do you do? You're able to at least give us all that opportunity and that voice. So I really appreciate it. And thank you for being on. I really, really, really love what you guys are doing over at Pet Perennials.
Well, thank you very much. And for those, just one more reminder for anybody that's listening that's using the 123 Pet software. Go on our website, sign up. You can use the code 123, and your first 3 months will have a discount for the bereavement package service. As if what it wasn't cost effective, we will give a discount for the first 3 months, and then you'll already be in our system. So as the integration takes place after the first of the year, you'll be ready to go. There will be nothing else you have to do. It'll just be in your system at that point.
You're just making it way too easy for people.
I am trying.
You're succeeding. You're definitely succeeding. Well, thank you, Lori, for being on the podcast. I really appreciate it. And again, folks, Pet Perennials, you guys got to take a look at it. It's been on our Facebook page, and it'll continue to be something we will discuss. Well, I'm Chris Green. Have a pet-tastic week. Bye-bye, everybody.
Gobble, 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 gobble.
Let's do the turkey dinner dance. Come on, let's go. Join right in and follow me. You can do it fast or slow. Turkey to the left, cha-cha-cha. Turkey to the right, cha-cha-cha. Turkey up and turkey down. Turkey around. Suey gravy to the left, cha-cha-cha. Suey gravy to the right, cha-cha-cha. Suey gravy up and down. Suey gravy all around. Mashed potatoes to the left, cha-cha-cha. Mashed potatoes to the right, cha-cha-cha. Mashed potatoes up and down. Mashed potatoes all around. Pumpkin pie to the left, cha-cha-cha. Pumpkin pie to the right, cha-cha-cha. Pumpkin pie up and down. Pumpkin pie all around. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Gobble, 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 gobble.